Now live in the Bank Plus studio, where college football meets the all lifestyle.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is
the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds, streaming around the world live at the Out of Bounds radio app and on your radio at ESPN 105.9.
Where are you?
The Zone.
All right, good morning. Welcome in. Featured special guest joining us on the Out of Bounds Show, Jeff Brantley, All-American pitcher at Mississippi State. Long career, Major League Baseball, and now, I don't mean to date him, but long broadcasting career and successful on ESPN and with the Cincinnati Reds. How many years now, Jeff, with the Cincinnati?
This will be my 16th or 16th year with the Reds. So I've actually been a broadcast. I've been a talker longer than I was a player.
How about that? Jeff Brantley, live in the Bank Plus studio. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. We've been very blessed to not have any of this COVID immediately affect any of our family, but I know it's affected a lot out there.
And who knows what's going to happen here over the next – we know y'all are going to play, but you just don't know how it's going to look over the course of February all the way through October, November.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at baseball, everybody's excited about spring training. There are a lot of players that are already taking up residence in Arizona and Florida. Our particular spring training for the Reds is in Goodyear, Arizona. That's just, you just keep going through Phoenix till you almost get to L.A., and that's where we're at. I mean, it's way out there. But I think ultimately we're not going to really know for sure if we meet our reporting date, which is right around the 15th, 16th, right after Valentine's Day. You have to look at pitchers and catchers reporting. And once that happens, there's no turning back. And the reason I describe it that way is because there's still a bit of uncertainty as to whether we will start our season on time, start spring training on time. There's been some word out there that there could be a month delay because of the numbers that are in the COVID numbers that are in Arizona. I mean, it's the hottest spot really in the world right now, and that's not good.
Right.
Because you've got young players that you can't ask them to just stay in a hotel room 24/7 and just show up at the ballpark.
Sure.
That's just not going to happen, and be unreasonable to even ask them to do that.
Sure.
So I think that over the next 10 days to 2 weeks, there's going to be a lot of talking. There's not going to be any bargaining. You and I talked about this ahead of time. There's not going to be any bargaining. There's going to be a lot of talking, a lot of reporting about what is going to happen. But right now, you just look at that 15th or 16th, and if they say play, it could be midnight on the 15th, and you go. Bam.
Jeff Brantley on the Coors Light guest line, Cincinnati Reds broadcasting team, and he joins us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. How much scholarship money were you offered to go to Mississippi State?
My first offer was 25% scholarship. That did not include books. And I was told by Coach Polk that if Steve Sushi signed, he would give me an extra 15%, possibly 20%. So that would take me basically to just under a half scholarship. And we didn't really know if that was going to happen or not. But for a 5'9.5", 5'10" pitcher, I was good to go.
You were ready.
Yeah, I was ready.
Did you want to go to Alabama first?
Well, I grew up as an Alabama fan. I mean,
Sure.
I grew up in Hoover, Alabama, and when you grow up in Alabama, you're either an Auburn or an Alabama fan. Mm-hmm. And I was not recruited by Auburn at all. I was recruited by South Alabama, and I was recruited by Harry the Hat Walker, who was the coach at UAB at the time. Okay. And he was hot after me. He was after my dad a lot of phone calls. He really wanted me to come and stay there. But my dream was always Mississippi State, and that goes back to my 16-year-old Dizzy Dean World Series team playing in Propst Park up in Columbus. And that's my first glimpse of Mississippi State baseball. And Coach Polk, and just being able to go over and see the university and have the man with the cigar come out and take a bunch of kids out for a ride, unsolicited, unannounced.
That's
And
pretty cool.
I still remember walking out on that field. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. I'm 57 years old. Walking out on that field at age 16, and I took my shoes off so I could put my feet on that turf. And all of us, we're all kids looking at each other like, oh man, this is like carpet. I mean, it's like your dream. And
Sure.
then all of a sudden, 2 years later, I'm a senior in high school and they're coming to watch me play.
Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds show. So how did it work out? Did you get 25% or did you get the extra 15 or?
I signed the scholarship agreement at 25%. Sushi signed late in that summer and I got the extra 20%.
Bam.
There you go.
So you ended up about 45, right under 50%.
Yeah, just under 50%.
Okay.
And happy about it.
And you went over as a
Shortstop.
right, and Coach Polk kind of walked you through the depth chart, and you went, I guess I'm a pitcher or something.
Well, I think the funny part about all of that is I could catch the ball and I could throw it to first base without issue, and I could play shortstop. The problem was being able to hit collegiate pitching. And, you know, I didn't really realize this actually until I got to the big leagues, but my vision was not very good. And being able to see things that other guys saw from a hitting perspective, it just wasn't there.
There's a book out talking about it's on the Dodgers and how the average baseball player is their eyesight is
Off the charts.
It is.
I remember doing a test with Will Clark when we got to the minor leagues with the Giants. We were in spring training. Now, this was in 1986. It was the following year after we had both played in Fresno. And his vision was 20/10.
That's what the book says.
Mine was 20/40. And so immediately, that's when I mean, and this is years after we'd played together almost 5 years at this point.
Right.
And I mean, it hit me. That's why I couldn't hit. I could see the ball. And it's not that I couldn't visualize the ball. I could see the ball coming, but I couldn't see it as well as the others. The ball on about 3/4 of the way to the plate really just got gray. It just kind of disappeared. And for a guy that was trying to make it as a shortstop, that's how I became a pitcher.
We've got a couple more minutes in this segment. You're going to be with us till 10 today. When did you know that you could be an ace, number one pitcher for an SEC team?
I knew that I could compete in the SEC once I had a chance to start in an SEC game my freshman year. I knew I could compete there. As far as being an ace, I didn't really know that until I pitched in the regional, and this was probably I think it was my sophomore year. We were in Texas, and we were playing in that regional down in Austin. Yeah, playing Clements and Schiraldi. And I remember pitching in that regional against some pretty good teams and thinking, I can do this. I can do this. And it really kicked my confidence up to a point, and very similar to high school, because I didn't make my 9th grade team in high school. I just didn't make it. What are you going to do about it? I figured that, okay, I had to do X, Y, and Z, and by the time I was really trying out for the club in 10th grade a year later, I was the starting shortstop on the varsity. But you have to make a lot of steps, not only physically but personally and mentally, to be able to overcome not making it as a 9th grader.
Yeah. But
by the time I got to be a junior, I knew I was good enough to be really good. The rest of it was up to me.
80. All right, we'll come back with more. Jeff Brantley, Cincinnati Reds broadcast team, All-American pitcher at MSU. He joins us live in the Bank Plus studio. You can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. The show is driven by the all-new Acura, RDX, and MDX, the number one luxury SUVs on the market at the all-new Acura of Jackson in Ridgeland. Visit AcuraofJackson.com. Jeff Brantley was offered a 25% scholarship, no books, to come to Mississippi State. And it was somewhat contingent on maybe bumping it up 15 to 20%, which did happen by the fall of his freshman year. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone. Jeff Brantley in the house. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app.
In any industry, Businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
Check this out, y'all. Live and direct.
From the Whiskey 61 Lounge, it's Mississippi's only food sports show on the airwaves. We're the only World Food Championship host in the state. This is the Out of Bounds Show with Bo Bounds.
All right. We are back. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Presented by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. We have Jeff Brantley in the house, kind enough. We usually get Jeff every year, and right about this time of year before he heads off with the Cincinnati Reds for spring training in Arizona and then eventually to Cincinnati. Jeff Brantley on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to the Out of Bounds radio app, and you can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Now, when you're in Cincinnati, you said 16 years, Cincinnati broadcast team, Cincinnati Reds broadcast team, TV and radio, which I think is awesome. You're referred to in the state of Ohio, this is so great, as Reds Cowboy, right?
You got it. I see people at the grocery store and they're saying, "Hey, Cowboy, how you doing?" I'm not sure some of them even know my first name is Jeff, but that's okay.
And pre-COVID, when y'all would go on the Cincinnati Reds caravan throughout the state of Ohio, and thousands of people show up throughout the state. And you told us some ridiculous number as far as affiliates y'all have for the Cincinnati Reds broadcast on radio. People are yelling when y'all are going through town, Reds Cowboy.
Yeah, it's a little different. My Twitter handle is @Reds Cowboy, but as far as nickname, they just know me as the Cowboy, and I guess that's not because I'm a horse rider or have a ranch or anything like that. It's just because I assume that you got that Southern voice and they're not used to hearing it, and that's
right.
just how they refer to it.
Great people.
Great people. It's a wonderful town. You know, I've always been a big proponent of yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, yes, ma'am, please. I mean, hold the door open for ladies as they come through. I mean, that's just how I learned when I grew up. And if you didn't, then you got slapped in the back of the head. I mean, that's how you grew up, how I grew up. And I just think that's a great proponent for my children. And both Ashley and I really try to emphasize that with both Mason and Elizabeth. And that's the one thing that I appreciate about Cincinnati. Cincinnati may be an Ohio town, but it's right on the southern border with Kentucky.
Right.
And you get that southern feeling. It does not, I mean, everybody says, "Boy, you're way up north." No, I'm really not. I'm just kind of at home up there. I mean, the folks are just like they are here. You love them.
And give or take, how many affiliates do y'all have? You told us some crazy numbers.
Yeah, we've had over 100 at a time. I'm not sure exactly where the number is exactly right now. It kind of changes from year to year, but we got a bunch.
With the Cincinnati Reds broadcast team, what's the split on TV radio for you?
TV is about 30%. Radio is about 70%.
Which one do you like better?
Radio. I can put on my blue jeans and my cowboy boots and put on a polo shirt and I can do the game. And I don't have to be so worried about every single commercial break or getting out at a certain time. Radio is more about telling stories and kind of talking like we are right now.
Right.
And I think people really appreciate that. I know a lot of folks listen to us on the radio while watching the TV, and they just turn the sound down on the TV. That's been a thing in Cincinnati for as long as I can remember.
Which is great.
It is great.
Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds show. You've been around and met Ken Griffey Jr. What's he like?
You know, Junior is different than his dad. I played with his dad, Senior, in Cincinnati when I was there.
Okay.
And then Senior was a coach for the Reds when I got there as a player. And you know, you look at Ken Griffey Jr. in a Seattle Mariners uniform, and I think might be the best player that's ever played the game. I mean, you could argue that point. I'm sure there are people that would argue against me or for me, but you could argue at a time in Seattle, he could have very well been the best player that's ever played.
Yes.
Defensively, hitting the ball for average, and certainly that power. Coming to Cincinnati, that's where he grew up. I mean, that's kind of his hometown. And I think that after you've played 9 or 10 years in the big leagues, it's tough to keep that same mantra going. Your body ages, and you begin to get some injuries, as Junior did when he first got to Cincinnati. I don't know that he still hit 500 and 600 home runs in a Reds uniform, but I don't think you can ever compare the numbers that he put up in Cincinnati with the numbers that he had in Seattle.
Yeah.
First ballot Hall of Famer. I think that he treats everybody on face value. I mean, as good as gold.
Yeah.
And I think that the Major League Baseball putting him in a position that they've done now, I don't think that can do anything but help our game.
Right. I mean, pound for pound, Jeff, he may be the most talented player.
I think when you look back, and I didn't really
discussion, like you said.
Yeah, I didn't really get to watch him on a daily basis, and I think that's what it takes to really determine. Yeah. You know, especially
you were playing and you were in the NL,
especially from the eye test.
Yeah.
But looking at his numbers and some of the video that I've seen of him playing in Seattle and the highlights while I was still on the field, I think, how did he do that?
Right.
I mean, climb the wall to catch a baseball, to rob a home run, step back up in the 9th inning and hit a bomb into the upper deck to win the game with the game on the line. I mean, who does that?
Right.
Those are guys that are first ballot Hall of Famers, and he was.
Yeah. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone. Jeff Brantley joining us in studio, 105.9 The Zone. Let's go back. Blake, did you have a question?
Well, no, you can continue, but I do have a question.
I want to ask him about Clemens. Yeah. I've got a couple more minutes. The next segment's our big 24-minute segment without a break. When you saw Clemens pitch in 83, what'd you think? In the regional, when you were at Mississippi State in Texas?
I thought he had a phenomenal arm, big guy, big body, was not nearly as heavy as he was when you saw him as a major league pitcher. But he threw the ball about as good as anybody I'd ever seen at that point in my life. Okay. I thought Calvin Schiraldi threw the ball awfully well, though they were teammates. But I was not it didn't make me think, okay, this guy's going to crush us, because we crushed him.
Right.
I mean, between Palmeiro and Clark and some of the other left-handers that we had on our club, Brad Winkler being one of them, they hit the ball awfully hard. And when you see a guy like that that's on the other team and you think, well, our guys are hitting him like they know what's coming, it doesn't just make you feel good about your team, it makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah. That's – in 83, were you starting or –
Starting.
Okay.
Yes.
I saw him on
Hans
Twitter.
Herzog, a left-hander, change of speed artist. Jeter was sinker slider, and Jeter had a great sinker. But, you know, when you've got a guy that's a sinker or a change of speed artist, you got to make sure you catch the ball. We did that. That's one of the reasons we got to where we were.
Yeah. And that was Blake, you don't remember this. That was back when it was an 8-team regional.
Yeah.
They didn't break it up until 1999 to go regional and then super regional.
And Omaha was still structured differently, too. You played weird round robin, like even if you were already, quote-unquote, qualified for the championship game, you still played a game. It was a very odd time in college baseball.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was straight bracket play.
Yeah.
And if you got in the loser's bracket after the first game in Omaha, I'd help you.
Brutal. Hey, he got to play in Rosenblatt.
I know.
Which I finally got out there to see Rosenblatt in 2007 when Mississippi State made it. It was Polk's last CWS.
Yeah, now it's just a memorial next to a zoo.
Yeah, it was incredible. The tailgating outside. I mean, people were it was Mississippi State fans partying outside on the strip of Rosenblatt. That place is nuts. Jeff Brantley in the house. He'll join us the rest of the show. The show is presented by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Any age, any sport, any injury, they've got you covered. New surgery center and clinic. Lake Drive, Flowood. Jeff Brantley in the house on ESPN 105.9 The Zone.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers, customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
In any industry, businesses come and go, but we've been here in the greater Jackson and Vicksburg areas for almost 25 years. We couldn't do that without a dedicated, friendly staff and without loyal customers, customers who trust us. It's really not that complicated. We take good care of our employees and we take great care of our customers. We think that's a pretty good way to run a business. I'm Nick Fulton, and our business is USA Pawn.
Football season is here, and Four Roses Bourbon would like to raise a toast as we celebrate game day. Whether you're sipping on Four Roses Bourbon at the hunting camp, by the fire pit, on the patio, or outdoor kitchen, handcraft the moment with Four Roses Bourbon as they celebrate 130 years. Cheers to Four Roses Bourbon and football season. Be mellow, be responsible.
Honey, don't forget your mom's birthday present.
It's a whole new shopping experience at USA Pawn. We have an amazing selection of quality merchandise, from jewelry and home goods to tools and furniture. And with our prices, it's like everything's always on sale.
What'd you get your mother?
USA Pawn, 3 locations in the Jackson area, plus Vicksburg, Pearl, and Canton. Get mega more at your mega store, USA Pawn.
Game day will never be the same because Pearl River Resort is introducing all new ways to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. This is your ticket to Vegas-style sports betting, and it's game time. Place your bets on dozens of high-impact sports matchups anytime at the Timeout Lounge. And as always, play over 1,100 Vegas-style slots, 25 table games, and our 14-table poker room. Pearl River Resort is redefining what it means to win with Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. We're not just fans. We're here to play.
This is the SEC Insider Hit, brought to you by Capital Preservation Services, the tax planning team that helps business owners earn more and keep more.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, man. Jeff Brantley and I reminiscing about 84, 85. Barry Larkin. I was a Mississippi State baseball fan, but I loved watching Barry Larkin for the Michigan Wolverines. I thought that was so cool that they were in, was it the 85 regional, Jeff?
85 regional.
Okay. And did he spend all of his career with the Cincinnati Reds?
Yes, and as a matter of fact, he will be back with the Reds this year doing some television with us.
Okay.
So that's going to be fun. Tell you, playing against that club at Mississippi State, there were two former teammates, or two future teammates, I guess is the way to put it, Barry Larkin and Hal Morris, that played on that Michigan club against us in 85. That was our final game that we won to go to the World Series. And I'll never forget that game because I pitched on 2 days rest to pitch against Michigan to pitch that final game. And I don't even know that I slept because I was so mad that we had lost, to force a final game. And there was never a question that I was going to pitch that game. But I remember being out there and, Coach Polk had never come out to take me out of a game that entire year without it being preset ahead of time.
Wow.
And I can remember him coming out to the mound and, my forearm was cramping and my calf on my right side was just destroyed. And he gets out to the mound and I've got the ball in my glove. And he says, I'll take that. And I'm looking at him and everybody's looking at him because I'd never come out of the game. And he said, your ERA is skyrocketing. Of course, at that point, I was at 130-something pitches, pitching on 2 days rest, and he was just like, let's get Bobby in here. And, those are the kinds of games that you remember more than anything else because you laid it all out there. Every ounce of the last bit of energy or muscle fiber that you had, you knew whether you won or lost, you put it all on the line.
Well, I think that's why the Mississippi State fan base gravitated to you and loves you so much because of what you just described over that weekend. You threw, and then 48 hours later, you went almost 140 pitches.
I didn't even think anything about it.
Right. There was never any doubt.
My only concern was making sure we got to the College World Series, not just for me, but for the other 30-something guys on our team. That after losing to New Orleans the year before and giving up that grand slam to Mississippi's Stuart Weed-Eye to New Orleans in Starkville, I just couldn't let it go.
Right.
Couldn't let it go.
And y'all had the SEC baseball tournaments back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some of them were on campus.
Yeah, we won it in 85, but we won it in Baton Rouge.
In Baton Rouge.
They should bring that back.
Wow. There you go, Blake.
On campus, you want to get people fired up on campus SEC tournaments?
Drop SEC baseball tournaments on campus.
Rocking.
Come
Rocking.
on.
Yes.
Oh, it was loud. Woo.
Did you beat LSU to win it?
We beat LSU to win it.
I did not. I either didn't know it or forgot about that.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't have – these games weren't on TV. Now all 56 of Mississippi State's games, you can stream them. So
you weren't streaming on the ESPN app?
That's what I wanted to ask you. Jeff Brantley, All-American pitcher at Mississippi State, long career, Major League Baseball, and then broadcasting ESPN and now with the Cincinnati Reds TV and radio. Okay, so have you ever had an opportunity to spend time in the left field lounge and actually enjoy, because you're a player and then you played Major League Baseball for a long time and then you went straight into ESPN and now you said 16 years. Have you ever enjoyed a weekend at Duty Noble in somebody's, whatever they call them now, lounge area with the grill going and cold beer and pork tenderloin and ribs and kebabs on the grill? Have you ever been able to experience that?
I have done it. I don't know that I've actually spent that time a full weekend ever. I've had little jaunts here and there where I've gotten to go back.
Okay.
I remember when we went back and they retired did the the Ron Polk's Ring of Honor.
Sure.
We got to go through the, in the new stadium, through the left field lounge and kind of see people and then into the lofts, but never in the original left field lounge. I just, for me, I've always been either on the field. I mean, for the last 38, 40 years, all I've done is either played or broadcast, and that's never stopped. I mean, I've had 32 consecutive years in the big leagues, just either playing or broadcasting, and never stopped. So if I'm ever going to be in a place where it would be the left field lounge and I get to be there for a weekend, I got to retire.
Blake, isn't that incredible?
I can't imagine. It's hard to fathom, but like you said, it's one of those things like baseball is a game that people who are in it for life, some way, somehow. It's remarkable.
And the thing about baseball, especially at the major league level, once you retire and you're out, you're pretty much out.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize that until, I got the call from ESPN as soon as I retired from when I was with the Texas Rangers, and they wanted to talk to me about coming to work there, and all that kind of got together. And I've never stopped broadcasting since that point. And not that I've ever thought about it, because I wanted to broadcast before I ever wanted to play.
Right.
So this is, I'm living my dream right now.
Because we grew up on radio.
That's
kids
exactly
listening
right.
to baseball games.
Yeah, that's how I grew up.
Even the Cardinals. So
yeah, I was just always a fan of the voices, and to be able to have that and to see other guys, hey, JB, can you help me get back with so and so, or do you know this guy? And I'm like, yeah, I can try, but once you're out, you're kind of out.
I never thought about that, and you probably don't realize that when it's all happening.
You don't realize it because you're trying to have that one summer, or trying to decompress a little bit from 20 years in the big leagues, or because most of those guys that play a long time are the ones that would like to come back, because you miss it. Once you're out, you miss it. But it takes you a year or two to really realize, this is what I love doing. I've done it my whole life. I'd like to get back in there. It's tough to get back in.
In other words, it's been good and healthy for you. I mean, obviously a lot of work and travel, but good and healthy to stay in the game.
Yeah, it completely energizes me. I mean, like right now, I can't wait to get out to Jackson Academy. My son goes to Jackson Academy, and that's the team that I'm around right now.
Right.
And because I love baseball. Right. That's just what I do. I mean, I see things that nobody else sees. I see the hands move just a little bit, or the fingers that roll around the side of the baseball, or maybe a kid that's dropping his head before the ball gets to him on the infield. You're a baseball lifer, so you see those things. And maybe sometimes coaches don't even see those things because they're so concerned about all the other things, and you got 40-something, 50 kids out there.
Absolutely.
It's tough to pick it all up. Yeah. So I love being out there, and it's just what I do. It's in my soul.
Jeff Brantley on the Coors Light guest line in the Out of Bounds show. I'm going to hop around here the last 15 minutes, but I have to get to this. Judy asked a question on our Mississippi Ag text line. What does Jeff think about Jake Mangum's chances to make the big leagues?
Well, I think right now for Jake, his speed and his consistency of putting the ball in play is going to be his ticket to the big leagues. That should be his major concern. It's not about the stolen bases. It's just being able to cover ground in the outfield and being able to put the ball into play consistently, because there's so many minor league players, hitters, I should say, that are taught power stroke, lift the ball, hit the ball out of the ballpark. You either walk, you strike out, or you hit the ball out of the park. Don't take a 2-strike swing. Take a no-strike swing, even with 2 strikes. That's what the teaching is now. And if Jake goes back or stays with what he's doing now, he'll go back to the old school hitting where you're putting the ball in play with consistency, and I think he'll stand out.
He's gained a lot of weight. Last time he was in studio, Blake, a couple months ago.
Yoked.
He's up to 200 pounds, and he said he really wanted to try to stay between 200 and 205. I think he said he ended the College World Series at 175.
Yeah, something like that.
When they played his last game, Jeff, and they ran they run the numbers, and I think the average starting center fielder, Major League Baseball, is 202 or something like that.
Yeah, he's got to have that body weight on him to last the entire season.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, if you think about it, and I was talking with another player about this not very long ago, but where minor league guys struggle is they are used to playing 5 months out of the year season. You add in spring training, then you get called up to the big leagues. Most of those guys that get called up to the big leagues in September are exhausted because of the grind that they go through playing in the minor leagues for that 5 months, and they're not used to that 6 month. And then all of a sudden, that last 30, 35 days are tacked on, and it is a grind for some of those kids.
Jeff Brantley on the Out of Bounds show. Let's switch gears again. You retire, go to work for ESPN. You get to call the College World Series. So you had played in Rosenblatt, then you get to call the College World Series. What was that like?
I thought it was incredible. I had a chance to go to a couple of different regionals. One of them Ole Miss was playing in, another one Alabama was playing in, and see the teams that were actually going to make it into the College World Series. That was the year that Texas beat Ole Miss, and then the other one was the year that North Carolina beat Alabama to go to the College World Series.
Super regionals.
Had Daniel Bard and Andrew Miller on that North Carolina club. It's a pretty good righty-lefty combo. But those, you get to see those games, and it, as an adult, it kind of takes you back to that, just that raw emotion that you have when you're playing in college. And I just know that seeing those kids and watching them play, not only at Ole Miss and at Alabama, but watching them play in the College World Series and just that transition and the excitement. But you were talking about it earlier, getting to go out into the parking lot where everybody was tailgating. So you don't get to do that when you're playing.
Right.
And just to see the scene. I mean, that's not just all about what's happening on the field. There's an event out in that massive Rosenblatt parking lot where all the campers are pulled in weeks ahead of time. It is unbelievable.
I had no idea that they converted those houses outside of Rosenblatt, Jeff knows this, to bars and restaurants. And you just bar hop either before games or in between games. And it's so much fun because there's 7 other fan bases out there. Like, Jeff, I've been to, you go to big SEC football games. There's only 2 fan bases. I've been to the Final Four, the Super Bowl, whatever. But when you go to the CWS, to me, what makes it so cool and special and magical is the fact that when you're bar hopping in Omaha or doing whatever you're doing, you're running into 7 other fan bases, which is really unique and cool.
Well, what was interesting to me is that there were fan bases that had been buying tickets since back in the from the 1985 team from Mississippi State. Now, Mississippi State wasn't in the College World Series that year, but yet there were people from Mississippi State tailgating in that parking lot. Yeah. Same thing with LSU. LSU's not there, but they had people all over the place. I mean, that's just what they do, and hoping that their team will get there.
Yeah. There's a lot of discussion within the game, go to college or go straight out of high school. And, they run the numbers. College guys are more successful getting to Major League Baseball. Now, for some, it's a no-brainer, right? Mm-hmm. It's low-hanging fruit. It's a layup to make that decision. What are your thoughts on that?
Go to college. And I would say that all day, every day. And I don't care if you're a guy that throws the ball 100 miles an hour. If you're going to, unless they're going to give you a $10 million signing bonus and something that you know that you can have for the rest of your life, I think that you go to college. And it's not just to train yourself physically and get used to the grind of playing everyday baseball, but you've got to grow up. You've got to train your brain. You leave high school, you're still a boy. You're a boy. You're not a man. You're a boy. And all of a sudden they hand you all this money and you buy a new car and you're doing all the things that you can do with the money that they gave you, and you forget about why you got the money. Go to college, train your brain, be ready and be set to be a man and move on into the working world.
And you see it all the time with the Reds, right?
I see it every day. And it's not just with the Reds. It's any profession that you can look at out there. Right. If you want to be great at what you do, train your brain first, train your body second.
Yeah. And so with the Cincinnati Reds broadcast team, when y'all are out in spring training, walk me through what y'all are doing.
it's more of a just gaining knowledge about the players and the teams that we will face. And in today's world, even though you have some American League clubs that are in Arizona, we do a lot of interleague play. So you get to see players like a Mike Trout that you wouldn't normally get to see because he's on the West Coast. And that's a pretty fun thing for a National League club that's in the National League Central, and you're playing the West you're playing the Angels 3 games once every 3 or 4 years. So, right. But I get to see him the entire time in spring training. And that's a benefit of being out there. But I think the most part of that is looking at younger players that you hear people talk about that you've not seen, and all of a sudden here they come, and they're starting to develop a little bit. Everybody has that little stair step. Nobody just shows up the first day in the big leagues, or very rarely, and I mean the rarest of rare, shows up in the big leagues and they're great on day one. It's too hard. You have to learn your craft, and you have to learn yourself. And I think that's what the minor leagues and spring training, all of those things are about, is trying to figure out, okay, why am I good? Why am I great? But also, what's holding me back? Because if you don't know what's holding you back, you will continue to suffer.
And I bet that happens a lot.
It happens all the time, every day.
So you guys are trying to wrap your brain around who's the next group coming from Double and AAA, and then maybe if there's been some moves made in the offseason to really get an idea, here's what the roster could look like, but here's who could be coming up sometime in
Major League Baseball. If you're going to play in the big leagues, it is a fast sport. I mean, lightning. Kids that come even from AAA to the big leagues, they go back and forth. They're just amazed at how quick and fast the game is. Guys that are in the minor leagues, they stand out because their quickness, their speed, or their velocity shows up. And that's when you really know that's a true big leaguer.
Okay. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Jeff Brantley joining us on the Coors Light guest line at Reds Cowboy. I love that. On Twitter with the Cincinnati Reds broadcast team. Blake?
Can I segue to a maybe more contentious topic?
Are you going to go with Kurt Schilling?
Well, I wasn't going to go with Schilling specifically, but I was just going to ask your thoughts on the Hall of Fame
I'll let
decision.
Jeff say what he wants and so on, and not want to say. Go ahead.
I played with Kurt, and I knew he was controversial even from that standpoint. We played together in Philadelphia, one of the last teams that I played with in the big leagues.
I didn't realize you played with Kurt. Okay.
And I think when you look at Schill, you see a player on the field that, in my mind, is a Hall of Famer. But there's been a lot of folks that want to be judge and jury and invoke the character clause in with the Hall of Fame. And my position on that has changed dramatically. I used to be all about that character clause and thinking that, okay, if we're going to do it according to the rules, then character has got to be part of that great player. After seeing several players that I played with that I know that did steroids that are in the Hall of Fame, what are we doing?
That's my question is, do you feel like we should baseball stop hiding from the steroid era and accept that it existed and induct people in based on, because like you said, there's people who threw the ball that had it in their system, and there's people who hit the ball that had it in their system, and not everybody was clean, but not everybody was dirty either. So, I mean, do you just say, whatever, we're going to take what you did and put you in? And secondly, is there a problem with the induction situation? Like, do we have an issue with how we induct people in the Baseball Hall of Fame anyway? Because we should never have an empty class.
I don't know that we have a problem with it per se, simply because we've got a lot of baseball writers that vote. And I think over a period of time, there are plenty of mechanisms in place to right wrongs, whether it be a Rafael Palmeiro, whether it be a Kurt Schilling, a Barry Bonds, or, you can keep going. Roger Clemens, we talked about him earlier. As far as playing on the field, all of those guys are Hall of Famers. But they're being held out for one reason or another. Pete Rose would be another fine example of that because of the gambling issue. Do I believe down the road when most of us are gone that those guys will be in the Hall of Fame? There is no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind.
You think Raffy will make it one day?
I think he will be in the Hall of Fame.
Man, I'm biased.
He deserves
it. Grew up.
His numbers are unequivocally Hall of Fame
He's
numbers.
top 5 numbers in the game ever.
It's
So
incredible.
See, I grew up a Rangers fan, so I loved Raffy and Pudge.
sooner or
but, yeah.
later, those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame. Is it for me to decide? No. It may not even be for the current writers that vote to decide. It may be down the line. It might be a veterans committee. Those guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Clemens, Bonds,
Palmeiro.
That'd be huge.
Pete Rose. He's going to get in. He might never know it, or he won't ever know it.
Maybe, yeah, okay.
Posthumously. Yeah.
Man, I'd love for Raffy to get in the next 10 years.
Not in the next 10 years.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
But he will be in there.
Okay. Interesting. How much time we got?
About
3
2,
minutes.
yeah.
How cool? What you talked about it, but I got to go back to y'all were part of opening up the new stadium and the Ron Polk Ring of Honor. Will and Raffy are so different, but how much fun was it for you to be? Y'all know you travel so much. They've got lives. Y'all are all busy.
Right.
How rewarding was it to spend, even though it was a little amount of time, with your former teammates while opening the new stadium?
I think it's great. I think it's not only fun for us to get to see each other with our little bit of gray in our hair and in our beards, and our stomachs are out a little further than they were when we were flat bellies in college. It's fun. You know, it makes you go back to those memories of grinding it out together, because we did that. Sure. I mean, we fought for it, and we fought together. As much as you want to make of the issues that came between Raphael and Will, hey, they were great teammates. Yeah. And thunder and lightning goes together. They might sound different, but they go together. And those boys went together as good as anybody.
It seems they've worked some of that out. I don't want to focus on that, but Raffy seems to be more into what's going on with Miss. I think it's good that he's showing up more. Both, I know his wife's from Tupelo, but he's showing up in Starkville more. I had a couple of beers with him before the Egg Bowl 2 years ago. And then, of course, anytime they play out in that Dallas-Fort Worth area where they're opening up this year, he's going to be the bowl game. He was at the bowl game.
That's correct.
And then he flew up to the CWS a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Everybody sees, not everybody, but people see you for years around here. Isn't that cool, though, that Raffy seems to be getting more
I do.
involved?
I like that. I think it's great for Raphael. I think it's great for Mississippi State. Yeah. And, you know, part of it, I believe, that is because Lynn's family is a Mississippi family, and it continues to bring him back here. But I think also this is Rafi's family. The Mississippi State folks are Rafi's family. And I know he grew up in Miami, and I know he came from Cuban descent, but, I mean, he's a Mississippi boy. And, I mean, everybody that's a State fan will tell you that.
Reds Cowboy in the house. Jeff, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Wish you all the best in 2021 with the Cincinnati Reds broadcast team. All-American pitcher at Mississippi State, Jeff Brantley in the house. If you missed any of it, you can go to Apple Podcast and search the Out of Bounds Show. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports, or Facebook. Search the Out of Bounds Show. Thanks for listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We will see you tomorrow.